In this episode, we're going to be talking about a concept called pet peeves. Chances are you haven't heard this expression pet peeves before, but I am going to be happy to introduce you to it, and it's one of my favorite conversation topics because you learn a lot about the other person. So I'm going to describe what pet peeves are, why people have them, why it's a good conversation topic, and then we'll have a chance to be able to discuss pet peeves today. So if you've heard of them before, please let me know because it's a funny topic and they exist in every culture. It's just that the language may be new to you because why would you be talking about this? Why would you have this vocabulary? So you're going to learn some new vocabulary and you're also going to be able to analyze yourself a little bit and learn about how you can use this to start a conversation in English. And I would say that this topic pairs very nicely with last week's episode, which was episode 16, on what can you let go of this season. We're going to be talking about letting go of your pet peeves a little bit later on into this episode. So like I said, the word pet peeves, which is pet like an animal, and peeves, P-E-E-V-E-S, pet peeves describe a concept that you may not be familiar with in English. And it's because it's something that, unless you've learned the term, you probably haven't heard it before. But I realize when I work with clients and I interact with people, I often use this expression because it's something that it's an easy way to describe this characteristic of concepts that I'm about to discuss with you. The thing I want you to understand is that pet peeves are often considered personality quirks. Now, quirks are parts of your personality that are unique to you, that help people kind of identify you. They know, like, that's a quirk that Kim has, and they're able to say, okay, that's just the way she is, and that's something people understand about you. So pet peeves often fall into the category of personality quirks, things that identify certain aspects of you that will enable you to kind of laugh with your friends. And this is why they're such a good conversation topic, because you can often have a good laugh about pet peeves. And, these personality quirks are things that the reason pet peeves pet peeves are examples of personality quirks is that a lot of times the things that are your pet peeves are things that you notice that other people don't notice. So these are things that are really special to you, and they're special to the way that you involve yourself in the world. So it's going to be kind of funny, and I'm going to give you a lot of examples later on. Okay, so chances are you have a number of pet peeves. You may have figured out what they are by now. If not, I'm about to tell you. And if you have pet peeves, it's okay. It's normal to have pet peeves. And usually when someone asks you about it, you're so happy to talk about it. It's like this relief where somebody's asking you about your pet peeves and you can start talking about these things. So pet peeves are those little, small, silly things that just really annoy you or bug you when other people do them, or when you hear them, or when you see them. So these are these little tiny things that for some reason, for you personally, you have this reaction to them. And it's really interesting because for some reason you are focusing on these pet peeves. You personally, other people don't even notice. And that's almost why they become pet peeves, is that other people just don't care about this thing that bothers you. They don't even notice. And that's why they're doing these things that cause this kind of frustration or annoyance, or just kind of bugs you. And so it's things that are, for the most part, they're really minor. They're not things that matter. They're not things that are really important to your career, to your life, to being kind to other people. They're just these small little things in the world that for some reason they just really annoy you. So it's going to be fun to talk about them. I'm laughing because when you have a conversation about pet peeves, it becomes this huge list of things and people laugh and they say, oh my gosh, me too. And they get so excited about agreeing with you because you share this pet peeve. So often when you talk about these pet peeves, they're an opportunity to bond or connect with the other person because people want to be able to share these stupid little things that bother them, that shouldn't bother them. They know they should let go, but it's just something that we have this reaction. I don't even know why we develop these pet peeves, but we do. So it's a funny thing. So again, pet peeves are those small little annoyances, things that just bug you, irritate you, frustrate you, but they're small. They're not big things like worrying about violence in the world. They're small things, and I'll give some examples in a moment. They're things that really don't matter, that really aren't that important, but for some reason you notice them And it causes this kind of like frustration inside. But they're funny, which is why people laugh. I'm laughing as I'm talking about them because they're so hilarious. Like, they're funny when you start listing your pet peeves. And the thing I really do want to emphasize as we go through this is that when you talk about pet peeves, it's not an invitation to start complaining. Complaining is when you go on and on about things that really bother you, that have more of a deep emotional reaction. Pet peeves are kind of like, you kind of have that quick reaction and it's okay. You don't get upset about them. Complaining, often there's more emotion. It's a deeper frustration, a deeper hurt, a deeper worry about this situation. So it's not about complaining. When you start listing, if you have, 1 million or 100 pet peeves, that's actually complaining. That's just being frustrated with the world. So, and it's not an invitation to start whining, which is another way to talk about complaining when you're like, man, I don't like this. I don't like this. I don't like this. So I don't want this conversation about pet peeves to kind of turn into talking about complaints about the world. It's not about that. It's about these like little things. And this is why pet peeves are very cultural. If someone asks you about your pet peeves, they're asking you not about your complaints about the way people do things, the way things work, the government, the politicians, whatever it is. They're not trying to get you to list complaints. They want to hear things that are kind of funny about you, things that are like really small. It's something that we laugh about. So I just want you to understand culturally that pet peeves are funny, that you still have maybe a negative reaction to them, but it's not this deep emotional reaction that you're like so angry and frustrated. So this is not the place to complain, right? To show annoyance, to be frustrated about the world. This is not what we're talking about. Pet peeves are funny. They're minor. They're worth commiserating about, kind of sharing about, like, oh my gosh, I can't stand when people do this one thing. And when I give the examples, it'll be really silly. And if you're interested in going more into depth about pet peeves, be sure to search pet peeves in Google or on YouTube. I found some funny videos that I was watching when I was researching yesterday. So there's a lot of funny things where you see people's faces, you see the way they react when they talk about their pet peeves. It's really funny. So I encourage you to go deeper into that. To reiterate, pet peeves are those little tiny things that bother you, that kind of irritate you, but they're not important. They're not important to the world. It's not about improving the world because you need to fix these things. These are really silly things. And the thing that I do want you guys to remember that we'll talk about a little bit more in this conversation is that when we talk about pet peeves, you should have some self-awareness of your pet peeves. This is why I'm bringing it up as a topic. I've been thinking about it for a couple of weeks now. You have to have some self-awareness. You have to know that this isn't something important in the world, right? It's not an important thing to solve. And you have to be aware that if it's your pet peeve, what can you do to solve this pet peeve? And I'll give you some examples so you understand. If the pet peeves do cause you to have a much stronger reaction than you should have for this very kind of minor topic, you want to tell people. I have this pet peeve. It really bothers me. And please pay attention to it. And that's called self-awareness, being able to acknowledge that you have this attitude or this approach to this particular thing. And so you can tell people in your life, whether it's your coworkers, your friends, your romantic partners, your family, that it's just something that really bothers you. Most people in your life know if it's something that bothers you, they're going to try to make it better for you. And I'll talk about that with my examples. Okay, so I just want you to have some self-awareness about your pet peeves as we talk about it. So I want to give you some examples of pet peeves. Okay, so first I'm going to give you examples of pet peeves that I don't have, just so that you can understand them. These are not my pet peeves. So as you know, I always am talking about my tea. And for many people, there's tea bags, right? So I don't use tea bags. I use loose leaf tea. But tea bags are the bag that holds the tea, right? And you put it in your tea mug. And some people have a pet peeve that when the tea bag is wet and it's finished, people leave them in the sink, right? In the sink in the kitchen, or they leave it on the table. And it's kind of gross because it's this wet, heavy teabag thing. So some people have a pet peeve about that. Oops. Some people have a pet peeve about that, and it makes them feel really frustrated when they see tea bags on the table or in the sink in the kitchen. It's bothersome. Other people have pet peeves about toothpaste. Toothpaste is what we use to brush our teeth in the morning, in the evening, sometimes in the middle of the day. And some people have a pet peeve about the way people squeeze the toothpaste tube, right? They say, why don't you squeeze from the bottom of the tube and move the toothpaste up to the top so that it moves and you use all of it? This is a pet peeve for some people. They freak out if somebody is squeezing the toothpaste from the middle of the tube. Right? A lot of women have a pet peeve about men leaving the toilet seat up after they use the restroom. And it's like a pet peeve. The same reason men get annoyed about women leaving the toilet seat down when they use the restroom. So there's pet peeves about that. Some people have pet peeves about people leaving the lights on in a room when they're not in the room, or leaving the TV on or leaving the radio on when they're in a completely different room. That's a pet peeve for people. Some people don't like, I don't have any pens or pens around me. Do I have any pens? I do. Some people don't like when people fidget, when they take their pens and they're like, they're playing with their pen or they're chewing on the pen cap or something like that. People don't like it. It's a pet peeve. They don't like it because it's like, oh, it's so annoying. Some people don't like when people are playing with their hands or twirling their hair or something like that. Or when they shake their leg, when you're sitting at a desk and somebody at the table is going with their leg, and it's just causing this like shaking of the table, people get frustrated. So these are some examples of kind of silly pet peeves that people have. So this is really important for you guys to understand, because I'm trying to be kind of your cultural guide, because I love talking about culture. I want you to understand that pet peeves, they're like mini complaints, but when you really start complaining or whining or just like having this really negative attitude, that's no longer a pet peeve. That's a complaint. Pet peeves are kind of funny because you should let go of them. Remember, let go. We talked about let go all in episode 16. You should let go of them, pet peeves, but you just you can't help it. You can't help it. You just feel like, oh my gosh, that's so annoying. Like I said, slamming doors. So I'm going to tell you guys another one after I read this. Yes. So Zayla says, door banging annoys me. Me too. It really bothers me when people slam doors or when they drop things really loud, because it startles me. It makes me really react because I'm sensitive to sound. So Ed Nilsson is going to talk with a native English speaker. And so, yeah, pet peeves is it's a conversation starter when, not really a starter. I wouldn't meet somebody and be like, hello, my name is Kim. Let's talk about pet peeves. But it's sparks a conversation, like if you're at a party or you've been talking to someone for a while and you're out of a topic to talk about, and it's just something that comes up in conversation a lot, and it usually causes this kind of funny reaction. Like we're saying, it's hilarious because you start talking about it and you realize that you all share all these different pet peeves, and it's like, oh my gosh, that's so annoying, and it creates this this kind of I'm moving my hands forward. It creates this movement to a deeper conversation because, like we mentioned when I was talking to Adriana, it's that pet peeves can annoy you because you're sensitive to sound. And that's a deeper conversation, being sensitive to sound, having to express to people that you're sensitive to sound. It's a deeper conversation. So we could go there. We could go into this deeper conversation based on the pet peeves. But it's in this self-awareness as well. I was mentioning a pet peeves in the workplace. Sometimes it's important for you to understand the pet peeves of your boss, of your coworkers. For example, this is just a normal pen, but I had a manager who hated. So I'm a teacher. So when I taught in a classroom, she hated when people had, markers for the whiteboard. I don't have a whiteboard right now. When the whiteboard markers, and they were empty and they had many of them in the classroom, she would get angry and she would throw them all out. She was a little off, but that was a pet peeve. So once she told me, it really bothers me when people have too many markers that are dead, that don't have any ink in their classroom. Please don't do that. Then I would start throwing out the ones that were dead, so it's just a funny thing. Once you know that something is a pet peeve for someone, if you care about them or you want them to keep paying you money for your job, you sometimes adapt to their pet peeves. So that's really important to understand. So here's an example. One of the pet peeves for me that I have in a living situation is when people wash their dishes, right? They wash their dishes if they don't have a dishwasher, and then you have them in the drying rack, right? When they're drying. And then, so the dishes are now dry. And for whatever reason, you went to work or school, you didn't put them away, and someone washes more dishes and they put wet dishes on top of dry dishes. That is a huge pet peeve of mine, because then you have to wait for all of the dishes to put them away. And I had my roommate in grad school. We weren't a very good living situation. She did that all the time. She would never put away other people's dishes, only her own. So if I wasn't home because I was in class, she would wash her dishes and put wet dishes on dry dishes. And then I would put all of the dishes away. So that's an example of a pet peeve. When you know you have a pet peeve and something bothers you, what can you do, right? That's what we're kind of talking about. You can try to teach people. And a lot of times we do have to teach people how we want to be treated. If you, for example, if you have something kind of that seems irrational, like for me, with my situation about the dry dishes and the wet dishes and that whole thing, whenever I meet a new roommate, I say, I just want to let you know that something that really does bother me is in the kitchen when people wash their dishes and they put wet dishes on dry dishes. Sometimes people forget, but if you're self-aware, you tell people, this is what would make my life a little bit easier. It would eliminate these kind of minor frustrations. So you tell people that this is something that bothers you. That's why I have videos on how to use ma'am and how to use dear, because for some reason those things, well, I think it shows a level of cultural sensitivity. And that's basically all you can do. Like, obviously as a teacher, I can teach these things, but you also can teach your friends, you can teach your family, you can teach your coworkers. Like I mentioned, my coworker my manager who had that issue with those pens. She hated lots of pens. People just have things. We have these quirks. We have these pet peeves. So you want to make sure that you're sensitive to that. And if you really, really do feel it's frustrating, then you can tell them, try to say something about it, teach people how you want to be treated. So that's kind of the point of pet peeves, is that it's a really funny topic where we're joking and we're laughing about all of these pet peeves, but it's also, and it can be a great conversation starter for that reason. And but it's really important if you do have a lot of pet peeves to maybe think about letting some of them go, episode 16 on letting things go, or telling people that this really bothers you. Like the thing, we all have differences. We all have quirks. For some reason, these things annoy us. So we need to have some level of self-awareness to help other people interact with us better, so that we have these positive, funny interactions. And I noticed ever since I've been talking about dear, nobody, unless they're new to my channel, calls me dear. And I appreciate that because it's a thing that you need to learn. Okay, so I'm going to look at the chat in just a moment, but I just want to remind you guys, I mentioned the Sound More Natural course, but as always, if you like conversations, you want to go deeper into conversations, get my free guide to more confident small talk. This is a guide about kind of 17 more neutral, interesting questions, how to kind of deepen a conversation with people. And the reason I'm encouraging you to get it at englishwithkim.com/small talk guide is that once you join, you're going to get ton of resources for quite a long time, all of my best resources with insights in the emails. And so you basically join an email course where you'll get insights to deepen your conversations in English. So I really want to make it a valuable experience to receive emails from me. So I encourage you to sign up, get in the community, get the insights. And don't forget, if you want email reminders, you can sign up for those too, so that you know when I'm doing these live videos, because sometimes I have to change the day. I'm not going to commit to a time every single week at the same time, because I want to make sure I can be flexible. But if you get emails, then you can sign up. So, but this link and the link to the email reminders is below. Okay, I'm so glad you guys have enjoyed this conversation. Don't forget, if you liked this video, liked this conversation, even if you don't like some of the things I said, please give the video a thumbs up. It helps other people find this video, be reminded to watch this video, and it really helps me be able to keep making these videos. And so I really do appreciate it. If you guys are new to my channel, which I assume by this 1 hour point you probably aren't, please subscribe. It does help as well. Anything that you can do to help support me, I really do appreciate it. And I really do appreciate all of you commenting, watching live, even if you didn't comment. I appreciate those of you who've joined my email community, because it's fun. It's fun to really find people like you guys who are interested in these topics and having a deeper conversation. And hopefully you learned some new vocabulary, some new words, some deeper understanding about our culture and just about how people interact in the world. Like, I love hearing from you guys and having a dialogue. I really do respond to every comment and every email I receive. So, because I want it to be a conversation. So I appreciate you participating in these conversations. So once again, I'm Kim from EnglishWithKim.com. I'm your guide to the essential conversation skills you need to sound more natural in English. Have a good one. Goodbye.